I now call to order the meeting of the Town Council of Winterville, North Carolina. I ask everyone to please stand for the invocation and continue standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilman Moore.
Our Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for our country, thank you for our town, our state. Be with tonight a special prayer for Christian Godley, one of our employees whose mother passed away. It's a tough time to lose any parent, so we all need to pray for her. Thank you for everyone here tonight in the city meeting, and thank you for our board, thank you for our mayor. Be with our mayor, she's in the hospital, I think, third week in a row. These things we ask, in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everyone to our meeting tonight. I know we have some students from South Central High School, and I'd like to recognize them at this time if they stand, in the civics class that are visiting with us tonight. And so we're glad to have you.
Oh, great, we've got 4.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's excellent.
And we're also glad to have our citizens that came out tonight that are interested in our government and the town decisions and the things that affect them. I know we got some people that are in capacities that serve our town and citizens too. So we're glad to have you here tonight. We'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Everyone's had a chance to examine it.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that we approve our agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
I didn't call for the question, did I? Sorry. Well, I called for the question, and everybody's approved, so thank you. I'm not Doug Jackson. The next thing on our agenda is proclamation for Black History Month, and I will read this proclamation. Whereas much of the town of Winterville's honor, strength, and stature can be attributed to the diversity of cultures and traditions that are celebrated by the residents of this great region, and whereas February has been designated as Black History Month, in which we pause to reflect on the contributions of the African American community, and whereas African Americans have played significant roles in the history of North Carolina, state's economic, cultural, spiritual, and political development, while working tirelessly to maintain and promote their culture and history. And whereas, as a result of their determination, hard work, intelligence, and perseverance, African Americans have worked tirelessly to maintain and promote a valuable and lasting contribution to the town of Winterville, our state and nation, achieving exceptional success in all aspects of society, including business, education, politics, economy, culture, science, arts, and history. And whereas this observance affords special opportunity to become more knowledgeable about Black heritage and to honor the many Black leaders who have contributed to the progress of our nation and community. And whereas such knowledge can strengthen the insight of all our citizens regarding the issues of human rights, the great strides that have been made in the crusade to eliminate barriers of equality for minority groups, and the continuing struggle against racial discrimination and poverty. And whereas we join with all Americans in celebrating our diverse heritage and culture and continuing our efforts to protect democracy for all people and recognizing the vital achievements of our local African American residents. And now therefore be it resolved that I do hereby proclaim the month of February 2020 as Black History Month and express special commendation to the dedicated volunteers who have labored so diligently to make this observance a reality in our community. And in witness thereof, I do set my hand and cause the seal of the town of Winterville to be affixed this 10th day of February 2020. Thank you. Mr. Moore, did you?
I'm going to mention about Brunswick Patrick, who is a, jersey being retired this Thursday. He played all 3 sports, all 4 years, and I used to drive him back and forth to practice. His father died before his first football game his freshman year. Was it freshman year, Mr. Smith?
It was 86.
86, okay.
So I think was it going into our
And
sophomore
he's been
junior
a
year.
professional baseball player and a coach since he was 18 years old. He went straight to the pros. And so we're going to retire his jersey at D.H. Conley Thursday night between the girls and boys game, I believe.
It's at halftime.
And,
Halftime of the men's game.
He is,
boys game.
he's got a quality individual, and it should have been a long time ago. He threw, pitched every game one year. Every game they had at Conley, he pitched. That's before you had a rule about how many pitches you could throw per game.
I think it's very fitting that we honor him at this time for being an outstanding member of our community and being afforded this opportunity to be honored for his sportsmanship and his participation in sports. I know, Mr. Mark, you knew him very well.
I do. He's a
And-
gentleman, great athlete, and an even better person.
Well, he was born at the time that I left Winterville trying to get an education. We were cousins, but
Different
We
workers
do.
in the street.
yes, I do appreciate it. He's part of that Patrick family here in Winterville. All right. We'll move right along to our public comment period. And it's been a custom that we read the criteria for it each night. The public comment period of 30 minutes provides an opportunity for residents to comment on any item included in the agenda or to address the town council on any other matter related to the town of Winterville. For an item included in the public hearing section of the agenda, residents should address the council at the time the mayor invites public comment on the item. No public comment may be made to the council during the meeting, except during the public comment period or as part of a public hearing. Individual speakers are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and no more than 3 speakers may address the council on a single matter. The town council may elect to take no action on the matter addressed by a speaker, may schedule the matter for further consideration at a future council meeting, or may refer the matter to town staff for disposition. Copies of the town public comment period are available in the rear of the assembly room. And we have 2 people signed up for public comment during this time. Elton Watford first. I think you signed up first, the Watermelon Festival.
Good evening, council, town staff. Thank you for letting me come and share some information with you tonight and talk with you about our upcoming festival. It's that time of year again. I guess anytime you see me up here, you know, it's time to start talking about the festival. But this year is going to be a good one. This is our 35th anniversary. It's hard to believe it's been going on 35 years, but it really has. That's almost as long as my marriage, come to think of it. But anyway, we're grateful, as always, that the town has supported us both financially and with help from the different departments here with the town to help make our festival the success that it has been. This year, we're looking at the 4-day festival again this year, running Thursday through Sunday. But our dates are a little different this year. We're 1 week later than in the past. We're going August 27th through August 30th. And that works out really good for us in that we're not competing with the Pitt County Schools open house over at A.G. Cox this year. That's going to allow us to do some other things special for the students who are back at that time. And hopefully we'll have even bigger crowds on Thursday night than we're used to just because of not having to compete with the open house. Like I said, the 4-day event will start on Thursday. We'll have one of the largest midways with amusement rides as any festival in the state, based on our size, our festival size. We've got free concerts on Thursday night and Friday night. We've been talking with some groups. We don't have anything finalized yet at this point. On Saturday, we'll start again with the Veterans Breakfast on Saturday morning, the parade following, and then right after that, the watermelon eating contest. And we invite you, all of you, to participate in all 3 functions, especially the latter. We'd like to see everybody in the watermelon eating contest. If y'all will do it, I'll do it also. So keep that in mind. If I can get everybody on the council to do it, I'll do that as well. But Saturday afternoon, we're going to have free entertainment for the community as well. Then Saturday night, as always, we have our big concert. Sunday afternoon, we're going to open at 1 o'clock with International Day events. We'll have amusement rides. We'll have carnival foods available and various other types of entertainment, bands and dancers and things like that. As you might remember, last year on Thursday and Friday evening, we had some bad weather. It didn't rain on Thursday and Friday, but we had lightning and some wind and had to shut down the rides and the bands for a good amount of time. So that kind of cut into the people that we had attend on those 2 nights. We even had some rain on Saturday afternoon. It rained during the concert, but luckily we had a good number of people come out for the concert that Saturday night. As a festival committee, we would like to be as financially independent as possible, but we know that we can't always do that. So again, I come to you asking for the $50,000 again this year to put on the festival. We are looking at some other means of funding, but that's not working out yet. Hopefully in the near future, maybe the next year or so, we'll have some things in place that will help fund the festival itself, so we won't have to ask for quite as much in the future. I would also like for the council to keep in mind that we do have to make deposits for the bands and some of the other things, the production company and stuff like that. So if we could get the funding as early as possible, maybe sometime in March, that would be great as well. But again, before I do sit down, I would like to recognize we have some of our festival committee members here. If you don't mind, raise your hand if you're on the committee. And we've got some new faces. Well, these aren't new faces. These guys have been around for a long time. But we've got some new faces on our committee too that you may not recognize if you come to our meetings or when you see them working on that Thursday, Friday, or Saturday night. So anyway, come out and you say hello to those folks as well. Get to know them. You'll find out that we've got some really good people on our committee, and we're working hard for our community. And again, I will also thank the town departments. Without these guys behind me, without all of you, we could not make this possible. So thank you very much, and everybody have a good evening. Thank you.
Just a moment, I'd like to recognize Ms. White, Commissioner White, County Commissioner. Glad you're here. Her district is from the Cooper Street South.
Yes, sir.
Glad to have you.
And we do appreciate the work, that hard work that goes into putting the Watermelon Festival on. Resident of Winterville, came uptown to it, but now, after having served on the board these 12 years, I've seen the work that the committee does, and realizing it's all volunteer work that's done. And I urge the citizens of Winterville to reach out to the committee and offer their assistance in putting this on each year. Our staff and the Watermelon Festival Committee work a lot to get this event for our community. The next person we have is Dr. Glenn Johnson.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Pro Tem, Town Manager, and Council, and the gentleman seated behind me. I'm going to be brief because I want to make a statement to the students that's here this evening. I welcome new things, and I love what they did with Main and Mill. However, Saturday evening at approximately 21:30 hours, as I made a left-hand turn from Main Street onto Mill, it is good, and I'm telling you, my heart sunk to the bottom of my stomach. But I'm so glad that I was only going about 5 or 10 miles an hour, because as I approached Railroad, a couple walked directly out in front of my car. Luckily, like I said, I was going at a speed where I avoided impacting those individuals. So my concern would be that intersection. I did have a conversation with the manager of that location, if they were coming from there. I'm not sure if they were or where they weren't. His name is Steve Jones. He indicated to me that he has a regular conversation with Chief Wilhite, which is a positive thing, of course. So I told him, I said, perhaps you can get together and maybe they can have some pedestrian crossing signs there or something. But that is a safety issue. Now, maybe they wasn't drinking, Maybe they just wasn't paying attention, but luckily I avoided hitting them, so that is a concern for me, and probably all of our citizens here in Winterville, as well as yourselves. So I just want to make that comment on that issue. Now, to the students, I want to point this out to you. If you look very closely, you'll see two women sitting on council. I call them my mom. They're my mother in Christ Jesus. All the gentlemen, to you young men, and to you all you young ladies, you see those people and these people on this chair here, this section here, you're gonna rise, you could be sitting in those seats. So I wanted to make that point to you. Stay in school, get your education, go above and beyond. They used to say the sky's the limit. Not anymore. There's footprints on the moon. Who put them there? Our American astronauts. So you can do what you can do. Above and beyond what you can do. Thank you so very much. I appreciate it.
If it's with council's approval, I would invite our county commissioner to speak to us. Is that all right with you all?
Sure.
Give her a couple minutes just to speak to us.
First commissioner we've had since Jimmy Garrett's.
And I apologize for that. I was under the impression that another commissioner was taking Winterville because Aiden is also on this night. So anyway, but I'm happy to be here tonight. As far as, would you like a few updates from the county?
Yes.
Okay.
Especially something for us.
Okay. Well, the census is coming up, and right now we are forming a census committee. So if you or anyone that you know want to be on the committee, it's very important because every person that does not complete the census, we lose a little over $1,600 of federal funding. And this year, we do stand to gain a new representative to the North Carolina House if everyone completes the census. I know this fall, Winterville was involved with us. Our economic director, we put together the Small Town Summit where we had each municipality present and we talked about strategic planning to help each municipality reach their goals. And we are getting ready to put some things into play with that, so you'll be hearing more about that soon because we want to support you in your efforts to grow. So thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm enjoying being here with you tonight, and if you have any questions or if I can help, just let me know.
Thank you. That brings us to our consent agenda. Need a motion on that?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Question? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same. Old business, cost participation agreement for betterment of Eli's Ridge subdivision lift station in Force Main. It's a lot to say.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. The item before you tonight is an item we've previously discussed. Sure everybody's aware that a developer, Bill Clark Homes, is building a subdivision between Worthington Road and Laurie Ellis Road east of town, in this general vicinity right in there. It's approximately 230 lot subdivision, and they're already out there working on that. As part of that subdivision, they've got to construct a sewer pump station to be able to serve that subdivision with sanitary sewer. It'll pump to the town's new regional lift station that we just constructed last year, or just completed last year, off of Old Tar Road. In the design of that subdivision, staff and the engineer working for the developer looked into the new pump station, and we're trying to think ahead, and we realized that with a little bit of input from the town, we could construct that lift station a little bit bigger and a little bit deeper and be able to serve the town's sewer service area, the remainder of that area, all the way out to County Home Road. You maybe see this red line here. This is the area, the minimum area that the engineer believes we should easily be able to serve with the extra depth in the lift station. So like I said, we can serve all the way out to County Home Road and be able to serve future development. That saves the town money in the long run. Pump stations, they're a maintenance headache. We got to go to them pretty much every day, rebuild pumps, electrical issues, generators. It's always something going on at pump stations, and it costs the town a lot of money. If we can serve this stuff with gravity sewer, it's much better for the town and more economical. The agreement that is before you tonight is a draft agreement. The developer's attorney is still putting some finishing and reviewing that agreement, and I think we're pretty close, but he's indicated to the town attorney that he's got some minor revisions that he's going to likely request, but we're requesting for conditional approval contingent upon the town attorney's final approval. If you would notice, the cost estimate attached is, the engineer did update the cost estimate just on Friday. Previously, it estimated the cost at about $185,000. With the final approved plans, the total cost estimates for the betterment cost, which the town will be responsible for, is $202,000. Now, that is just a cost estimate. The project is out for bids right now, and what the town will be responsible for is that betterment cost. We don't know that cost now because the project has not been bid, but once it's bid, staff will come back to council for approval of a financing agreement with the exact total cost and payment procedures.
Travis, will you speak about the situation with Christ Covenant School and the Autism Center
If we could,
letter?
could we go after this particular item so we don't get the pump stations confused? But we do have an update on that project.
And I was pretty much done anyway. Like I said, we'll come back before you with an exact cost once the developer finishes bidding the project and a financing agreement for further approval by council. Does anybody have any questions?
Travis, the area that you was showing to us in the red, about how many acres is that totally?
It's several hundred acres. I want to say, Ben, do you remember it was like 300?
The field we cut the interconnect out of was like a 100-acre tract.
Yeah, just this piece right here is like
Right, but
100
I was
acres.
Go ahead.
So you're looking at 300 or 400 acres. But some of this stuff down here where there's still woods is swamp and too wet.
Too wet, right?
You can't build there, so we'd cross it, and then pretty much everything you see that's cleared and all these woods up here would probably be able to be developed. I'm thinking you're looking between 300 and 400 acres. Potential to build a lot of homes or commercial development in that area. And we're set up to serve water as well, because if you remember, we built the new water booster pump station with the interconnect with Green Utilities right here, and we put a valve in so we can just take off and go that way when the appropriate time comes.
I believe staff has studied several options, and we felt like this was the most cost-effective to be able to serve the rest of the area that we might anticipate growth for the future.
How much deeper will it have to be?
It's going to be between 5 and 6 foot deeper than what the subdivision needed, and we're going to go from a 6 foot diameter wet well to a 10 foot. As you have more flow, you need more storage capacity. Another thing to keep in mind, accessibility to sewer could lead to quicker development of this, and this is all, I believe, within the town's electric service area. Another benefit, we would be able, for the majority of that, to be able to provide water, sewer, and electric. Small, maybe half of that up there would probably be in Eastern Pines water service area potentially.
I know you don't want to get confused here, but there's no cost participation with Christ Covenant or
We do
Aces
have an
for
update on
Autism?
that, but it.
I mean, I realize it's not part of this
Yes, but there would be, yes,
in the future.
in the future.
Potentially in the future,
Yes.
yeah.
And it would result, assuming all things considered equal, in a similar type agreement coming before council at some future date.
Well, I had in at $227,000, I thought that was, how'd you come up with that price?
Well, it's $202,000, and the developer's engineer, Linwood Stroud, estimated that cost, and he deals with this every day.
And that's
So-
just for our portion, that's turnkey estimated.
Betterment costs,
Engineering.
that's
not
correct.
the whole-
And it includes
Any money from the
contingency.
county? Does the county participate in any money? Does their tax base increase?
Not that I know of.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Contingent upon the town attorney's approval?
Right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Just a comment, the county does give Metropolitan School District an annual gift of how much money? $15,000 to $10,000 a year since it was built.
I think it's around 10, but please don't
Yes.
quote me, I'd have to check.
Please,
Yes,
yeah,
they
15,000
do. County
commissioners.
About right.
participates every year.
When we closed our sewer plant down in 1979, We didn't pay off our sewer plant until 1997. 79, 97 paid off. Now, I'm assuming that's why commissioners gave us that $10,000 a year to help with that head off. That's all.
All right, we have a motion, and it's been seconded. Call for question. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Can we go ahead and get the update?
Yeah, I can give you a brief
on
update.
Christ Covenant and ACES Autism.
Yes, sir. I spoke with the folks from Christ Covenant this morning, actually, and they met with ACES for Autism, and Ben and myself have been meeting with them and with the folks from Bill Clark and seeing if we could bring all those parties together to go ahead and run that sewer that they need for ACES and for the next phase of the school. At this time, they've opted to wait. They're still doing their fundraising. They said it would likely be a couple years before they were ready to pursue that. So
what happens when they are ready? When Christ Covenant's ready to break ground on their next edition, and when ACES for Autism is ready to
they'll have to extend the sewer from the town's new regional station off Old Tar Road up to to the point of service that they would need. And at that time, we may revisit it. Obviously, what we were looking at, we discussed this previously, is if we participate and go a little bit bigger pipe and a little bit deeper, we can potentially abandon the Winterville Crossing lift station. You know, anytime we can get rid of a lift station, it's a plus.
Right.
And we got a lot of problems over there. It floods all the time. It flooded Friday when we had all that rain in the cul-de-sac there. We couldn't get to the station. Again, we go there pretty much every day to every station. If we can avoid that, it's just over time, it adds up into a lot of money.
The Pitt County Soil and Water Board meets tomorrow. Be nice, somebody went to them and said, how about clean that out for us? Should we win a project? I think they got $750,000 to spend in the budget. So we need to have a handout, said, can you help us with this? So they cleaned out the stream along the Old Tar already, and we hadn't had it flood since then.
Right.
It's the next place they need to help us fix. Then, so I might want to call Leroy Smith, put it on the agenda, and ask for some money,
Okay.
clean the ditch out.
I think the town anticipates being a partner in that project when the time comes, assuming all things are still as we anticipate them to be. There just may be one less player at the table in Bill Clark Homes.
Yeah, we definitely would hope to be a party to that agreement and try to set the town up to potentially in the future. And there's other options. I mean, we could potentially get grant money for that, mitigation money from the hurricanes, stuff like that, because it does flood over there. And getting rid of that lift station is one less place we got to try to navigate through floodwaters to get to a pump station. Just because they're not going to move forward with their part doesn't mean that we're going to stop looking at ways to accomplish our goal.
They just finished up 34 miles of stream being cleaned out. I saw a presentation at Farmville last week, 34 miles of stream.
We applied for some grant money earlier this year. I haven't heard if we were approved or not, but we just, the issue is we take care of our streams all the time. You know, we don't wait till they get so bad that we've got to get a contractor in here. Long Branch Canal between Cedar Ridge and Irish Creek and on up to Beacon Drive, that is the one exception that we don't have really good accessibility to, and you pretty much have to walk in waders carrying a chainsaw and physically pick the logs up with your hands and throw them out. That's a little bit more strenuous on our guys, and so that's the one we're going to apply for and see if we can't get some help.
So they're doing 20 more miles for Farmville. So that'd be 54 miles total. They've done 34, 35 miles, and do 20 more miles west of Farmville. So we need to have a handout and say we need some of that money.
So you did say that next phase for Christ Covenant is going to be within the next couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, originally a couple of months ago they came to us and said that they were ready to go.
Yes.
But I think, this morning they indicated that maybe that was a little premature and they're pumping the brakes. It'll probably be 18 to 24 months out, which gives us time to plan. That's good for the town. We've got a lot going on. We can plan ahead financially and try to get some grant money. There's a lot of things that,
Trying to
And-
raise $10 million.
And you say ACE?
ACES for Autism, they just purchased a building off of Charles Boulevard.
Yes.
They were outgrowing their current space that they had. They didn't have the money to build on their new site in Winterville after they purchased it, so they needed a kind of in-between go-to. So they purchased a building off Charles Boulevard, and I think it's working well for them right now. So they're not in an immediate rush. They're also trying to fundraise.
What do you project?
I'm not sure about when. I would assume as soon as they get the money, but it ought to, you
They're
know.
a few years out.
Yeah, it could, somebody could come in and write a check and pay for all of it, or it could take them 5 years to get the money. It all depends on donations.
But as far as we know, all plans are still on the table to move forward. They're just a little bit further out than originally expected.
That's correct.
Thanks, Travis.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Next item is new business, Brookfield, Section 4, Phase 2.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. It is always a pleasure to be in front of you guys. One moment. So we got Brookfield Section 4, Phase 2 is a final plat. Just some site data for you. It's out on Laurie Ellis Road. This is just west of its intersection with Old Tar. It's 26 lots on a little over 12.5 acres, and it's R10. That's the zoning district. So a little bit of site history. This preliminary plat, so this subdivision's been around for a while, but this particular section, preliminary platted, was approved by council back in December of 2018. Construction plans were subsequently approved by the Development Review Committee in March of 2019. And Planning and Zoning just heard this in October of 2019 and unanimously recommended approval. So you can see this is our site here. So previously platted Brookfield coming in off here. You see it overlaid here, so you see these are the 26 lots. A few important things to note on the site. So you can see, kind of see the highlighted here. So you got your berm easement here, so you have your berm and sidewalk there. Kind of see a picture of the way it's going to look. It's kind of hard to see the berm there because they got everything so green, but it's missing the vegetated berm on top, but we do have a surety for that, so that'll be in place soon. So here's your stormwater pond here. Again, looking back opposite, so you see the berm, sidewalk, and the stormwater pond back here. But that's all I've got for you. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
Yeah, it's nice over there. Mr. Baldwin, they didn't send them turkeys over there, though. I didn't see any turkeys coming back to my house.
Plenty of green grass for them if they do.
There is, but I think them turkeys left.
Is
Motion-
it, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mark, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna make a motion to approve.
Question for you, I second it. I was looking, where's the stub out in there?
So the stub out will actually be, let's see here, kind of show it to you. So it'll be actually in the next section. So you see it comes here and it'll actually end up connecting. So
Okay,
you'll be able to see it. So the connection will come here and then it'll come here.
okay.
So they opted to go ahead and do this section first to get off the Ellis.
Do we know how far out the second phase is gonna be?
The way Coon's building them, I wouldn't suspect it'd be very long.
I'd like to entice them to start site construction this spring and summer. So, because thankfully that's, and kudos to Mr. Coon, it's a nice looking.
Yes, it
nice
is.
looking area. A lot of detail and active sense put on the houses.
I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we accept this subdivision, this final plat. Call for the question. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Other agenda items. Councilman Smith, discussion of information concerning previous legal matter.
This is regarding the lawsuit that had been filed against the town of Winterville. King, can you give us a summary of that, and then I'll make a few comments?
Yes, sir. The lawsuit was filed in 2017. The caption of the lawsuit was Jasmine J. Smith plaintiff versus the town of Winterville. That lawsuit was terminated by the district court in November 15th of 2019. The court granted the town's summary judgment motion. That effectively ended the case. The plaintiff did have 30 days from which to appeal, but that appeal was not rendered. So that, once the 30 days ended, again, the case was over. On November the 19th, 4 days after the court awarded the summary judgment motion, the court signed an order awarding the town attorney's fees, costs, and expenses against Ms. Smith in the amount of $2,917.85. And just a couple sentences I'll just read. This is at the end of the order. It said, based on the foregoing, plaintiff is directed to pay defendant costs and expenses in the amount of $518 and attorney's fees in the amount of $2,399.85 for a total award of $2,917.85 within 30 days of the date of the order. Again, the order was dated November 19th. The judgment has not been paid. So that was a federal judgment that was recorded in the federal clerk of court's office, again on November the 19th.
So she owes us $2,900.
How much money do we have invested? How much tax money, the people's money, were used to fight this?
I'm not sure. I certainly, I was, through our insurance company, a law firm was provided, and that law firm handled certainly the brunt of the matter. I was involved sort of on the sideline, so I billed the town for some time. I'm not sure, I haven't looked.
Altogether, would you say we got $10,000 invested?
I believe our deductible was 10,000, so it would be a little more than that.
Okay. And do we have any idea how much time staff was put into the work that needed to be done to prepare for this? Rough
There was a lot. but
rough
I-
guesstimate.
It would be well in excess of 40 hours of my time alone.
So basically, we have a former employee that made false accusations against the town. I would say slandered the town manager. And we had to use taxpayer funds to pay for this, to defend it. And we have an opportunity to get a little bit of that money back. Is that what I'm hearing, King?
One of your options would be to, because that $2,900, $2,917.85, that's a judgment recorded in the federal courthouse. My recommendation, I guess, is to take that judgment and record it in the state courthouse so that it would be a lien that would be attached to any real property, and that would maybe increase the town's opportunity to recover that judgment.
Okay. So I think previously we had three options. One was to leave it in the federal hands, which was not very promising to get any money back. Second option would be to file it in state and put a lien, and potentially down the line, maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but possibility we could get some of that money back. Or I'm assuming we have an option to go after that money, but obviously we're going to spend some money to be able to go after that little bit. Am I right? Those were the three options that were presented?
There's essentially three options. One is basically to do nothing and let it stay inside. It is a judgment in the federal court. The other would be to record the judgment in state court, make it a lien against the property, and you know, if one sells property or refinances, you have to go through steps, and most likely it would be collected at that time. And yes, sir, if it was recorded as a judgment, then the town could try to collect on the judgment by taking steps to force payment. That would be a third option.
So if we put a lien on it, that's going to at least put another guarantee, so to speak,
It's
out
not
there that we have a chance of getting it.
It's certainly not a guarantee you'll collect the money, but it's
But it's more than just leaving it where it is.
yes, sir.
But if another employee did the same thing, and we don't do anything to that employee, they get it back and we try to get money from that employee, would they get it back and say, well, you didn't do it for the other person? You didn't go after it?
I'm not sure. I mean,
How would that look,
possibly.
how would it look in court, courtroom with a judge or a jury? How would it look at it? You did it for one, but you didn't do it for another? You didn't push it far enough?
Yeah, that honestly probably wouldn't be looked at in a courtroom, or wouldn't be something to be discussed in a trial of another matter, but it.
And-
I guess
Well,
it's
King,
a decision the town would have to make whether it wants to.
my question, King, is how much would it cost us to file it in the state court? And then my understanding is, if she doesn't, sell any property within, 3 years, you're gonna have to refile it again, correct?
The first part of that, how much would it cost? It will cost, my estimation is about an hour or 2 hours. It would be my time.
Right.
You'd be paying me to take the judgment for the federal courthouse and record it in the state. So an hour to 2 hours of my time. The judgment, once recorded in the state system, is good for 10 years.
For 10, okay, I'm sorry, for 10. All right, and within 10 years, then you have to refile it again if she hasn't sold or, you know, right.
At the end of the 10 years, if you took no steps to renew it, it just dies.
Right.
It judgment's good for 10 years.
Right.
You could renew it for another 10 if you
Right.
did it.
Now, on the federal side of it, which I had this conversation before, is that, you know, I work on the federal side of it, and I look at it, this is a federal judgment, and once you receive a federal judgment, basically what happens is it comes up on your credit report. It's gonna come up, it's gonna show up, and then also too, once a person comes through and apply for federal assistance, we put in what we call no pay system, that her, him, or whoever Social Security number is entered into what they call a no pay system. And that's gonna pull up anything that recognize that there may be any outstanding federal judgments. Also too, what I did do some reaching out to some of the financial institutions right here in town to find out if that judgment is, would be seen by them, if that person entered into, you know, an agreement with them, and they said the same thing. Once they pull that credit report and a federal judgment shows up, you know, it's gonna kind of put a halt to what they, as far as their lending practices, what they said. So I did check with State Employees Credit Union, I checked with First Citizen Bank, and like I said, as well as us, I know once we see it, because even if we see on the state side, we still can make a person a loan on the state side. Now, we can't make a person a loan on the federal side, but we can make somebody a loan on the state side with a judgment, which it don't make sense, but we can do it on the state side, but we can't do it on the federal side.
Yeah.
If we file this with the state, it's on both sides, or is it not?
Well, right now, it's clearly a judgment it's a
On the
federal judgment, no question about that.
And that's gonna stay there even if we file it with the state.
Right, if you do nothing, that
Right.
judgment's there on the federal side. If you filed it on the state, it would be both.
We're covered double.
You would also have the difference is when you record it in the state courthouse, it becomes a lien that attaches to realty, to real property.
Right. Well, what I'm saying, or what I'm asking here, is I think we have an obligation to the people of Winterville that pay taxes to try to recoup some of that money from an employee that slandered the town. The town was found not guilty. It cost us money to defend that. And I think we owe it to the citizens because you can file it in the state court for probably $500 or less, and we still gives us another option to be able to try to get a little bit of that money back. And it also says to future employees that may want to slander or make false accusations that we're not going to tolerate that. So I'll make a motion that we file it in the state court as well.
I'll second the motion because, my concern is other people do the same thing. They're the same.
I call for the question. And even though I'm serving as mayor pro tem, I do not give up my duties and responsibilities and rights as a council person. So I found that if I'm not mistaken, the federal court decided on this because they saw that Jasmine could not pay a higher judgment. Am I sure, right? That the amount that of this federal judgment was reduced basically because she could not pay a higher amount.
That's right. The original affidavit filed was for, and I can't remember, it was somewhere around $7,000. And the federal court has the federal court judge can do, has a lot of discretion. And the judge reduced it from that $7,000 mark to, what did I say, 2917.
29,1785.
And, I find that I feel that if we have a judgment here, it's in federal court, the courts decided this. We didn't decide this, the courts decided this. And they decided on this amount because of her ability to pay. This judgment, we're not saying throw it away. We're not saying that it, anything like that. That's not what we're saying here. But I feel that the federal court judgment should be the one. That's what they decided. We put it in their hands, in the court's hands, and that's what they decided. And I feel that we should let it stay at this. We have had situations here in Winterville. I was not part of the board either. I wasn't part of the board. But we did not try to destroy the person. And I feel that to now say federal, we got the federal judgment's gonna be there anyway. But to add state to it would only be more punitive and destroy the person. And I don't think that that's what we should be about doing. We're not gonna, the federal courts, if they give it to us, we're gonna get it. I don't know, how would it affect her income tax, her federal income tax money? I don't know, but I would assume that if it's a federal judgment, any federal monies would be affected. We can't do that, but I don't think that we should pursue it as far as a state judgment.
I just want to say, I'm not trying to destroy anybody. I'm elected, and I have sat on this board for 14 years, and we are charged with being good stewards of tax money. And this is money that went to defend our town when somebody made false accusations, proven in court, thrown out. $3,000 isn't going to break anybody. But if we can get $3,000 or $2,900 back from what we paid out, we owe it to the citizens to do that. And we can do that, or at least have another option of getting that money back by doing this.
I think what we have in place right now is good enough, because I think both parties, I think they have been represented, have went through the court, and the court has gave their results on what they think should happen to this case. Yes, the town went through, and the defendant themselves went through. I think that we don't need to carry her and her family through anymore, nor because you got to place yourself into that situation. It could have been you and I.
No, I wouldn't make false accusations. I wouldn't make false accusations about our town manager, about the town itself. I would not do that.
Well, let me say this.
That goes back to character.
Let me say this.
That's what that goes back to,
Let's-
character.
Well, let me say this right here, and then I'm gonna let it go. It's always two sides to everything. And a lot of times, that what we hear is what we know. There's always something else involved. It's more to it than what has been said.
Not
So-
by a federal judge, it wasn't.
Well,
Well, let,
well, and that's the reason why I say I'd rather not to carry any other further, no further than where it's at, no more than I love for it to stay where it's at right now. Leave
Well,
it
If
alone.
we do that, then I would say that this board has failed the citizens of Winterville in being good stewards of their tax money.
Well, I think this town has represented itself quite well when they went to court and represented. We had a attorney, our town attorney, and the ones that was appointed to help him out, to represent us, and I think that they did an excellent job. So the result itself speaks for itself. I will say to leave it alone. That would be my vote.
any other discussion? Is there a motion?
You got a
Yeah.
motion.
You got a
on the
mo- you got a
floor.
motion.
Already had a motion. Right?
And a second.
Got a
Got a
second?
motion and a second.
Okay. Okay, we've had the question, we've had the discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
I tell you what, let's raise our hands. All opposed? Same sign. Motion failed. All right, our next agenda item is Councilman Moore, discussion of regulation on parking in front yards.
I was traveling with a green Saturday morning, down the Old Tar Road with Greenville. I looked over to my right, Vernon White intersects with, Old Tar, and I saw all these vehicles in the yard. And, 10, 12 vehicles in the yard. Now, these vehicles are hurting the value of those people next door. Because a lot of people must be living in that house. 4 people can't drive that many cars. Now, I do have 4 in my yard. One's electric vehicle, one's truck. But there's gotta be a limit how many you can put on a yard. And, one had a trailer back in the back of the grass. But, there's no more in value that you have is your home. And, so there's no limit at this time.
There is no
Brian,
limit. There is no limit at
No
this
limit.
time.
You can put 50 cars in the backyard, right? Front yard.
So currently, the zoning ordinance does not have a limit. The only requirements we have is a minimum. If they can fit 50 cars in a yard, I mean, if there's enough space, I don't know of a rule that we have that would enforce it. I think we're looking at, obviously, whether those cars are in good running condition, whether they have valid tags. If they meet those standards, then by law, there's not an ordinance they're breaking in the town of Winterville.
What other towns do about yards and vehicles?
I think Greenville has a rule where you can't park on quote-unquote grass. I'm not exactly sure the nuances of that law, but that's one of their code enforcement issues that they deal with. And it's kind of related to their 4 unrelated rule that they have.
4 people in a home.
4 people in a home, which
How do you keep up with that, 4 people in a home?
It's difficult to keep up with, and the subject of parking cars in the front yard started when I was employed there, and it took them many years to finally get the parking in the front yard regulations passed. It took a long time.
There was a lot of cars in the front yard. People lined up both sides of the driveway, around the side of the house, and,
They might have had a Christmas party.
pardon?
They might have had a Christmas party. They might have been hungover, so they had to let the cars stay.
As a
Well,
point,
these vehicles are parked beside the street, is that correct?
In the yard.
They in the yard.
What about the ones beside the street? Does that include what you're speaking of also?
No,
You-
you
yes.
can't park on an old car, I wouldn't think. These are parked in their yard, both sides of the driveway. How many have you seen there? 10?
I don't, so during normal business hours, it looks, I mean, there may be 3, 4 in there. I did see the tractor trailer without the trailer on it. I saw that in but I didn't see any number, I didn't see that many that would create like an eye-popping.
That was not Saturday, right? It was on Monday.
No, sir, I did not see that. I mean, I think there were some pictures, but I haven't seen
There
it
are.
personally.
and I have actually seen one residence has, I'd say 6 to 8 parked between the front and the back. And then the one with the tractor trailer has 4 or so in the front yard. As a point of reference, the police department went to check to make sure that there were no cars meeting the junk car ordinance. And as far as I know, Chief, correct me, but there were no violations that you all found.
There's one at the second residence that you have to look at today.
Okay, so I'm not sure if that's covered, and obviously if it's not covered up, depending on where it's located, the ordinance can, we can take care of that particular one, but the council discussed this item several years ago, since I've been here, and at that time chose to take no action. So just some information for the discussion.
I would like to investigate what other towns do about front yards, just investigate and bring it back some.
Yeah, and I will make a suggestion, if you'll humor me. We do have some ordinance updates coming up. That could be something we look at as far as the zoning component, and present it as part of those amendments. I don't see where that would hurt for investigating what.
We may need to bring that back before making an amendment. just
Oh,
to get some
absolutely,
direction.
absolutely. And I will say, I did check our records, and I asked the building inspector to check his records. To best of my knowledge, they have not had any zoning violations or building code violations, so.
Well, years ago, we, homeowner associations. How many homeowner associations, remember when we had about the chickens in the backyard, yard?
Yes.
And the homeowner associations, that's a wasted word to use.
Well-
That don't never meet.
Now,
Not
we
one.
disagree with that. We
Okay.
require them now. We have some active
Absolutely.
homeowner associations, but particular
Canterbury.
part in question, they had some regulations. I don't know that homeowners association ever got off the ground, but we do have some very active ones in town.
Well, in '89, I came to the board in August of '89 when I moved here. I had a home association at my house. And at that time, we asked to increase the speed limit on Old Tar and decrease it in the neighborhood. That's one thing we asked, and the town went along with it. The second motion, or we asked the town board to do, was to go to a board with 5 members, because at that time we only had 3-member boards, 3 members and a mayor, so that they did go to 5. And the second part of that was asking to do it in a different, have districts. That didn't go anywhere at all, districts. But they did 2 of those. They did go to 5, and they did change speed limits. And ever since that biggest mistake I ever made, at that one time, now we can't get the speed limit back up. It was 45 miles an hour when I moved there in '89. We had it 35. It was 35, I asked to go to 45. They wouldn't go back to 35, can't do it. They had let us do it since then. Somebody may remember, but I did it in '89, but I doubt it. It's 21 years ago, probably retired, but anyway.
It is a little unusual these days to have HOAs actually come and ask council for certain actions, not to say it's never done, but they more, my experience has been they work on regulating the actual neighborhood.
We had our homeowners association meeting last month, and they brought up some questions, so they probably will be coming to one of our meetings. And Chief has helped me out several times with speeding in our neighborhood, and they want looking at speed bumps and all that. Maybe we'll get with Travis to look at where we can stage them at or whatever.
What we normally do is we ask for what's tantamount to a petition or individuals.
They're working on that
Okay,
right
good,
now
good.
as we speak, getting people to sign a petition for that. But as far as parking, there is, in our covenant, Mr. Moore, there is parking on the grass. That's the only thing.
And y'all charge an annual fee for your home association.
We charge
That is the difference. They
we
have to
charge an
act as a
annual
home
fee.
association.
Right.
The Canterbury is the largest in the town of 200 residents, and it's owned by Garris Nevins. And I've complained about that sign in the yard, it was in my yard all those years. I like the location, but, I might not like it later on. But,
Well, the challenge is several of the older neighborhoods that have no homeowners associations, a lot of the entrance signs are falling in a state of disrepair, and it's gonna become something that the town may have to grapple with, because currently those folks don't have anybody that's tasked with keeping up, or they're not keeping up with some of those signs. the newer developments that have the HOAs are doing a much better job of enforcing regulations within their developments.
There's a lot of different mixture-sized houses in the neighborhood.
Yes.
Would the ordinance address parking on the grass or how many cars?
You can address both, either.
I mean, are we gonna say that you can't have 6 cars in your yard if you got a nice big driveway and you got room for 6 cars? I noticed that the house at the end of the street, I noticed that driveway is wider. That's why I'm asking that, you know, are we looking at, regulating, if you can, and, you know, in North Winterville, you know, we have lots of people who have dirt driveways.
Right.
But
I
suppose,
mean, so,
Yeah, just off the cuff, I would say the limiting the amount is a slippery slope. I think maybe limiting the location would probably be the better way to go, but I'd be happy to investigate what other
could you
similar
investigate-
communities are
could you
doing.
investigate whether they have a homeowner association that's active?
As far as Canterbury goes,
Yes.
I'd be happy to, yes, sir.
That's when we can look at it. Then you have a homeowner association meeting and say, we all organize, look at your own neighborhood, your values of your homes.
I just would hate to see us make a regulation that would discriminate against those of us in the older neighborhoods that may not have, concrete driveways, or may not even have, you know, I mean, a lot of them are packed dirt. They've been
Right.
parking there so long as packed dirt, and I know, you know, I mean, I know my church qualifies as a business or whatever, but
Sure.
we don't have a completely paved
Mhm.
driveways to park on. And I would just hate to see those of us in those situations to, have to incur a lot of debt, because it costs a lot to get your areas paved.
It's might be easy
If I-
just to have a homeowner association, maybe that's the easy way to go.
And if I may, we certainly would not bring forward regulations that, we would want some more direction from council before we actually brought forward any draft regulations, because we'd like to know exactly if you would like to do anything, and if you would like to do something, what you would like to do. So I think, if I understand council correctly, staff will research what other places do first, and we'll bring that information back, and then try to get some more direction from council on whether or not you want us to go further.
The second
That's,
issue-
that this right here is going to be on the resident property, like on their grass and in the driveway.
This is the residential property only. This is not any other parking thing we're looking at.
Okay, now can we look at also, can we add on the different types of vehicles to be parked beside the street?
We are currently researching, as previously discussed, there's already a regulation for trucks of or vehicles of certain
Axles.
axles, numbers of axles can't park in certain locations. We're now looking at situations like trucks with trailers attached, that kind of thing, larger, you know, larger vehicles as one that take up a lot of space. I think tow trucks, some other of those types of vehicles we've been asked to look at as well, but we're sort of treating that as a separate project.
Okay,
It's related but separate. Does that make sense?
so where are we at with that?
I know staff's currently trying to look throughout the entire town, areas where we may see that kind of thing occurring, just so we try to bring back a sense of how prevalent it is throughout town, to see kind of how many situations we might have that would be effective.
Okay, and also the detachment of trucks that do not have a trailer?
We already have a regulation on that. If there's a trailer sitting on, is that
No,
what you mean?
no, one without a trailer, just the truck,
Rig.
just the rig itself.
Oh, okay, that would be the sized vehicle and the number of axles. We're looking at that to
Okay.
see how other places kind of regulate such a thing. Because it's larger than normal, obviously, so it's not easy to determine. Numbers of axles make it somewhat easy to determine what can and cannot park on public streets, but then we start to get a little more difficult to try to define it when we look at size, if that makes sense. So we're just trying to kind of make sure we go through as much due diligence as we can to bring back good information.
My house did not have anywhere to park on the yard, only on the street. That's all it had. And when I buy police cars, totaled, the person that lived there before I did, their car. They totaled, Public Works totaled my car in the same month,
That
Police
sounds
department.
terrible.
at the same time. Then I put a driveway in the back. But our former engineer required such narrow driveways I can't get in and out because of there, he said it'll only be so wide. Unless I go across the road, down the lane, the other side of the road, I can't get out of my driveway with my pickup truck.
Well, and another thing that we're looking at in residential neighborhoods is parking on both sides of the street. Because we have neighborhoods where when cars are parked on both sides of the street, there'd be no way to get a fire truck and sometimes not even an ambulance down those streets. So that's something that we've talked about historically, and we have made some changes on certain streets, but there's still some streets throughout town, where it would be difficult to get emergency vehicles of large size down those streets with cars on both sides. So we've got several parking related issues ongoing, and we will be bringing information back on all of those.
Any other
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
discussion on the issue? Ordinarily, we don't accept comments. You have to come back to the next meeting.
I tried.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, items for future agendas and future work sessions.
One is the tile in people's yard. There's a question about some residents say the tile was put in by the town.
I think you're talking about backyard drainage.
Hey, backyard drainage, yep. Also, need to paint now parking spaces behind the town hall too.
But we know.
I'm sorry.
You're exactly right. If you'll recall, that's one way behind town hall. And, there's still a precarious situation with trying to turn on Church, that's part of Church Street off of Depot, because of the current parking spaces we have. So we're still trying to figure out what the best recommendation for that situation is, but yes, we do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we might look at downtown parking, see can we help our businesses, with more spaces downtown. So what we understand, a couple people were told, so we don't want to get the reputation of people coming in, like, feeling like I do about ECU. I don't want to go on campus
Right.
because I don't want to park and get towed.
Currently, we're working on some visual assistance that maybe we can post a map that shows private parking versus public parking areas, so that people may get a sense of when they do come, and we want them to come, where they
Yes.
might be able to park.
Mhm.
So parking's a hot topic, as you can
Yes,
tell.
most definitely. Hot topic. Any other topics? Okay. So we'll go to our reports from, on these topics. Says department heads, but I know these are ongoing topics and projects. So,
I'll go first. We do have several homes. Most are vacant. believe we have one that still may be occupied, where there's some minimum housing code issues that we are addressing. As you all will recall with previous cases, it takes a while to get to the point where we have to give notification, there's some hearings at the building inspector's level, but what we're trying to do is contact owners and give them an opportunity to bring these minimum housing issues up to speed. So as folks go around or are aware of situations they would like to make the town aware of, please feel free to do that. But right now, I would say we have 5 that we're currently working on throughout town, trying to see if we can get some of those things taken care of.
And this is the week we can get our letters about our property values this week. You got any?
I understand they're starting to come out. This is for our revaluation for our tax. We've heard some initial unofficial numbers, but you all should start to see some letters soon, so I hope you will share.
have we, our round of houses for our, urgent care?
I believe that we are in the process, I'll get you an update on where we stand with our urgent repair program. We have been budgeting $20,000 each budget year, and we were able, we had a backlog for a while, and we were able to catch up all of the people we had that were eligible. They're up to speed. Some projects were really large, and some projects were very small, and so we are currently up to date, except for more current folks that have applied. So I'll get you an update on that by next month.
Did we have any, problems with Dixie Queen hauling off people this past weekend?
This weekend?
So we've had 3 weekends in a row that
So maybe not, I don't
Dixie
think
Queen's hauling off.
I don't think it's, I did not hear a number that was as many as the 2 previous weekends, but I think the word's getting around, so.
Yeah, they've got a sign in one of the places that says, "Don't park in the Dixie Queen parking lot." I would hope that our businesses would work together. I realize that he doesn't want anybody in his parking lot, but you know, they have, I mean, they're running you out of there at 8 o'clock. So by 9 o'clock, there's nobody in that parking lot. I realize it's his parking lot, but you would think as business owners, and, I mean, downtown has really been popping the last couple of weeks.
It's been
There's a
very busy.
lot of people down here. You would think we would try to work together, especially with folks that may be parking in there at 10 o'clock at night when there's nobody at Dixie Queen, but I understand he has that right. But it sure is aggravating.
Well,
I won't be spending any more money at Dixie Queen.
these are private property parking matters, but as the town, what we're trying to do is take some proactive steps to share information so that people that live here, both live here and that are coming into town to our places of businesses understand where the public parking places are. So you may be seeing some of those maps pop up on social media here in the next few days. Thank you.
So it is a problem with parking by them not being able to use Dixie Queen parking lot. So what is their option? Chief, so you're gonna look into it?
Well, I think what we're gonna provide is a pictorial, a visual aid to show people where the public parking is located. To help people stay away from those areas that are private parking that might get them into a situation where they find their car gone.
There is parking. I've been down there.
There is
There's parking on Railroad. But again, I think, you know, if somebody parks in Dixie Queen at 10 or 11 o'clock at night because they want to go over and drink a beer, I wouldn't haul them off, but that's just me.
Well, I think sometimes people find themselves trying to park in a closer location, and that's how some of these folks are parking in particularly the Dixie Queen
Well,
parking.
I would just remind them people that they're free to spend their money, and I wouldn't spend it at Dixie Queen.
The other projects,
Anybody else?
tar road widening, electric territory, I'm just reading them off in order.
I got nothing on parking. Good evening, everybody. You're welcome. Just a couple of quick things. We've got Daddy-Daughter Dance this Friday at the Cotton Barn. Registration for that is full, but if any of you guys would like to come drop by and check it out, that's 6:30 to 9 at the Cotton Barn. Next week, we have T-Ball Pee-wee registration starting. That's, I believe, Monday, February 13th, runs through March 17th. March 28th, we have Community Day and the Easter egg hunt at the Winterville Recreation Park. Community Day starts at 11 a.m. and the Easter egg hunt is at 2, and I believe that Community Day runs through 4 o'clock p.m. And I think that's all I got.
You said, so registration has already started?
For
Your baseball?
T-ball Pee-wee stuff. T-ball Pee-wee registration starts Monday next week, a week
Okay.
from today.
But
yes, sir.
baseball is already done?
The 7 through 12. So we've got
How
7
many?
through 12, Cal Ripkins. Yes, sir. Yeah, that registration closed. Matter of fact, this is the first week of
How
practice.
many participants?
I don't know participants right offhand. I can tell you we've got 21 teams.
Yeah, can you tell them how many teams we expanded? Because I know my league.
We grew by 2
quite a
teams.
bit.
That's,
Yep.
that's what I'm trying to get at. How
Yeah,
many?
yeah.
We're about 2 teams.
Yeah, so we're up 2 teams from last year. Participant-wise, you're probably looking at between 24 and 30 players between the various leagues. Just right offhand would be my estimate. Then like we've got the older age groups for the 13 through 15s. That registration starts in March.
That starts in March.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
But for your age group again, Mark, was what?
We expanded by 2 teams.
Yep.
Teams and that's
From
The
19
9
to
and 10,
21.
the 9 and 10-year-old group.
9 and
is
10-year-old.
What I mean.
Yep. Went from 6 teams last spring to 8 teams this
Okay.
spring. So that's
So no,
That's really
no
good.
reporting Greenway of the building.
Greenway. Oh, you did remind me. So Greenway, everything's still moving along with that. Been working closely with the consultant here to try to get that wrapped up. Had some comments on some design plans that we received, so they're working on that right now. The multipurpose facility property, I believe we're talking about some of that in closed session tonight. And one other update on a project that we had ongoing, which was the Kiwanis Field fence replacement. That project is complete. We've got a few things on a staff level to take care of. They're on the same facility, but separate from the fence replacement project itself. If you haven't gone by there and checked it out, I would certainly encourage you to go by and look at that fence on the Kiwanis Field. I think it really looks nice. I think it adds a lot to the facility. I think that the participants are really going to enjoy playing on there. I think it'll do a lot for tournaments that we have, rec leagues, et cetera. So I think that that really is a nice addition to the facility.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm just going down the list of
Right.
projects we said that we would report on. I know,
I think some of these, because of where they are in their respective, actually, some of them may not have an update for you, but we could.
So on to the electric territory. If you've ridden out on Old Tar Road, south of Lori Ellis, you'll notice we're setting poles out there. Our intention is to have that done by the end of this month. We've been talking with local property owners, indeed, great length, great detail on acquiring easements for those areas. We hope to have, I'm gonna say about 80% of those done by the end of this month. That is our intention. Once we finish with the line on Old Tar, we'll transition over to the line on Worthington Road that's coming out of what, for lack of a better term, the bottom. It's coming actually off of East Main Street out to Worthington Road, and then we'll transition that line west back towards City Rouse, and then we'll start our bores and start the loop, and hopefully the subdivision's getting close to that point where we can start pulling cable into that. That's it.
thank you. Nobel Canal, Chapman Street.
Good evening. Just wanted to update council on, we've been talking about some projects, and during our vision setting meeting, we were talking about some sewer projects. We're always seeking some funding assistance for anything that we've got going on, but we've got some good news with regard to an application that was submitted in the fall. The State Division of Water Infrastructure, the committee that votes on their funding, will be meeting Wednesday. The town's been recommended to receive funding for our pump station rehabilitation sewer project that we applied. It's a $2 million, give or take a few $1,000 project. We've been recommended for funding the full amount, but $500,000 of it will be the principal forgiveness, so that's some free money, with the remaining balance having 0% interest on the payback over 20 years. Like I said, they'll be voting on that officially on Wednesday, but as those recommendations come out, that's pretty much the way they go. So just wanted to share that with y'all. Once it's official, we'll notify you and let you know. That's all I've got.
So that covers those,
Travis is coming up about Chapman Street, I believe.
I don't know, I'm sure, I don't see how you can miss it, but Chapman Street, they got started on the culvert project probably 3 weeks ago. They've removed the old pipe, starting on the downstream end, up to the back of curb on Chapman Street, and they've poured the first section, the base section of the first section of box culvert. It's really interesting. We're doing a cast-in-place concrete project. They poured 50 yards of concrete the other day. They had a truck out there that has a boom on it that extended out like 150 feet and was able to put that concrete out there from the road. It was very interesting. But they've got the base in, and they're forming up the walls on that first 60 feet right now. And we're going to try to get that project done in the next couple months. Hopefully we don't get any more rains like we got on Friday. It got pretty wet over there on Friday for sure. But if anybody would be interested in going and looking at that project, don't hesitate to give me a call, and I'd be more than happy to sweep you up and carry you over there and take a look at it. It's an interesting project.
when will the street resurfacing project be? You know, we said we do it after Boyd Street was finished.
For Chapman Street, yeah, we'll look at this coming up year. Chapman Street won't be a part of it because they're designing the 2020 street improvements project right now. Currently, we're gonna try to bid that out in the next 30 days so we can get it completed in this spring. Chapman Street won't be in it because that project will still be going on. another issue is funding. You know, we got limited funds to work with. Chapman Street is long and it's wide. It's gonna probably take a little bit more money than what we were able to do like at the end of Railroad Street. We got lucky, like we talked about this morning, we were able to just mill the old asphalt 2 inches and then overlay it.
That was nice.
It looks much better.
Yes, it does.
But don't forget, we got lucky. Every street we did this year, we were able to do exactly what we thought we could do. We didn't have to add any extra undercut or anything like that. But remember last project, everything we touched, we had to go in there and dig up the world because what was underneath was so bad. So this year we got really lucky. Last year we were really unlucky. The concern about Chapman Street is if you go in there and open up that street, it could be a tremendous amount of money. And so we'll probably have to plan that street in a year by itself, just like Gaylord Street. It's wide, it's long, and you go to undercutting, it gets very expensive very quickly. So we'll be looking for that in the next couple years. Depot Street is on my radar between Mill and Railroad. It's in desperate need of some repair. A lot of the streets in Manchester, I've been riding through there lately. I mean,
We appreciate you.
just like we got their court fixed, we fixed a couple other small places, but every time I ride through there, I see another place that's just starting to come apart. When it starts coming apart like that, the water gets in there in the subgrade, and then it really starts coming apart.
As long as it don't go to a park right in front of my house.
Did you hear anything from DOT on the city limit sign on Lori Ellis? You
I
can't read it at night. I don't know
Yeah.
if the reflective taping is off of it.
think it's just an old sign.
Yeah,
and
you
it's just
barely
worn
see
out.
it in the day, and at night,
Yeah.
nothing.
I've talked with the gentleman multiple times, and he said he's working on it. So I'll touch base with him again.
That's famous last words for DOT.
And I think they're still working on the speed limit signs for Mill Street out there by Reedy Branch too. So
What about the project down at Reedy Branch Road? I know that's coming along. Is there a completion date on that?
I would have to touch base with DOT and see. I don't go down that way a whole lot, especially since the road's closed. I can't get across there.
Right.
They were working this morning. I saw them on the way to work. And it looked like they hadn't been out there for a little while, but now they're back out there working. So hopefully, it looked like they had most of it dug up and they were getting ready to start paving soon.
Looks like they're moving along pretty
Yeah.
good on it.
Once they start paving, it should go pretty quick based on what I had
So
seen in the
hopefully it'll
past.
make that intersection a little safer.
Thank you.
Okay. Cemetery.
So I'm gonna give the update on the cemetery. We, in anticipation of our budget discussions and moving forward with that expansion part of the cemetery, we've been talking in-house with staff about the next steps in moving forward and getting that marked off and simultaneously kind of working to update some of the mapping in our current section. So we should be doing some work as soon as weather allows and it's not super wet to get in there and do a little work, and we'll be able to give you a better update in the coming months.
We didn't make a motion for the Watermelon Festival, so I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we provide them with the $50,000 that they requested, and we make that payment to them by the end of March.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we would give the money, the $50,000, which is our allotment for next year, right? To the Watermelon Festival Committee by the end of March.
Allotment for next year.
Yeah, it is.
It is, because they already got one.
Am I correct?
We should be ahead, I'm looking at Anthony,
Yeah.
Right.
we should be where we
Okay.
need to be
Right.
in the budget.
In the
where
budget,
concerned.
that's right.
Okay.
What he's talking about for 20.
So, that we make the
One.
$50,000 allotment for the Watermelon Festival by the end of March.
Do y'all need that earlier than?
Okay. All right, any questions, discussion? Okay. All in favor of that, please raise your hand. That's unanimous, right? Okay. Now we get our reports from any department heads have any more comments about projects or anything, or any announcements?
Would you like for me to read the announcements, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes. Mhm.
The first announcement on there, please bear with me, I'm not going to read each date, but early voting for the 2020 primary starts this Thursday and runs through February 29th. There are 2 Saturdays and 1 Sunday in there, and then it runs all the days. Would say that I've posted it on social media. It's at both doors, so, and if someone asks you or you need additional information, please give me a call. But really, it's a lot of different days so that we can give all citizens have plenty of an opportunity to get out and vote. Evan's already mentioned the daddy-daughter dance this Friday. Planning and zoning meeting is next Monday, February the 17th at 7 here in this room. Board of Adjustment meeting is next Tuesday, February the 18th at 7 here in the Assembly Room. The Recreation Advisory Board meets on Tuesday, February the 25th down at the Operations Center. And then back to what I was just speaking of, the primary election is on Tuesday, March the 3rd.
Okay. Now reports from town attorney, mayor, and town council and town manager.
Yes, ma'am. I have no report. I would like to point out that we do have a closed session tonight, wherein town staff will be seeking council guidance on negotiating the purchase of real property. Thank you.
As I mentioned earlier, our prayers are with Christian, Godly, also with Walter Jones. Walter Jones, this day's his birthday. He died on his birthday last year at age 75. Also, thank you for your prayers. My wife, knees were replaced 4 weeks ago today. I had to stay home more than I've ever stayed home in my life, I believe. This year I won't be at the festival, I'm sorry. We'll be celebrating our 50th anniversary. We couldn't go anywhere last year because she couldn't walk anywhere. So we're going out of the country. Decided to determine it this time. If she pays for it. I was joking. But thank you for those prayers. I've been very blessed. Very blessed. Thank you very much.
I don't have anything. Thank you.
John?
I don't have anything.
I was approached by some parents from South Central asking about a sign to be placed up for the state championship team. So I reached out to Senator Davis, and Senator Davis, a lady responded back to me, said that they submitted a request to the Department of DOT for signage. So hopefully something will be coming back on that. So
I saw where Vanceburg had a sign up about that state championship, or we should have done that, even though it's not in our city limits. Our children go there. So, you know, Coach Cherry spoke at my church this past fall. You wonder why they're doing so well in basketball. It's about character.
yeah.
Does an excellent job with
And
that.
Coach Cherry does a good job, so that's kind of what highlight on my end. And again, thank you, Travis, and your staff. Hard work over there on the west side of town. Yeah, I might have a spot for you in Public Works one day over there. All right.
Well, we had a proclamation for Black History Month. I've got all this red to remind everybody that February is Heart Month, and we think about those who are suffering with heart disease, and it's one of the major causes in the South because, you know, we love everything fried. And so keep that in mind as we plan our diets, that we don't want to become victim to heart disease. Also, the game that Bronzewell is being honored is the game between South Central and D.H. Conley. And I called today and asked about it. I said, well, that's all Winterville. So those of you that can, I know we've got the opening of Local Oak Brewery also at 5 o'clock. Am I correct, Debbie? At 5 that day. So it's a busy day for us and everything. But I do thank you all for tolerating me and my presiding tonight. Nobody, I guess you got a few laughs in, so that was good. And I'm really proud to be able to fill in for our mayor. And I ask that you keep him in your prayers as he heals. And also, of course, our staff member that lost her mother. The day that her mother had surgery, I was over there with my daughter. And it seems almost unreal that that would happen. But we never know when it's the last time that we can say, I love you, I'll give somebody a pat on the back. So I encourage each of you, give somebody a pat on the back. Let them know that you love them and you appreciate them. Thank you. Anything else?
Yes, Mr. Robertson, I forgot to apologize to not attending our last Thursday meeting. My intention and my plan was to attend last Thursday meeting, but I had a situation came up last minute, so I just couldn't make it. So I just want to let them know that that's the reason why I did not attend, because I had an emergency that came up.
No, we didn't say anything about it, but it was a very good meeting. Our comprehensive land use plan, am I
Yes.
correct, Brian? The people that did it for Stewart, the two representatives from Stewart met with our planning board and with the town board last week. And it was I thought it was very beneficial to meet and see what areas of town, what were their ideas, because sometimes it takes a fresh set of eyes. And, we had a good meeting, and I let them know that, my members that weren't there, of course, it was for good reasons, that sometimes we have family obligations or sickness or whatever. And so therefore, you know, we have to do what we have to do. All of us that serve on boards, we're human too, so. Did I miss something?
No, if I could, just quickly, to council members and to members of my staff who have had, either been sick themselves, had sick children, passed it back and forth amongst each other. I just want to tell everybody I'm glad that most of you are feeling better, and for those of you that are still ailing, I hope you feel better soon. You guys do a wonderful job, and I appreciate that many of you come to work, hopefully not contagious, but feeling poorly and still getting the job done. But I did want to end with this. E1 is a company where we have purchased our last 2 trucks, one of which we haven't received yet. It's a company that sells fire trucks and apparatus all over the world. And I'm proud to say that for February of this year, Winterville is, I want to make sure I had it up right. Winterville has the trucks of the month. So Chief, I didn't tell you I was going to do this, but it's really cool to be in the calendar that everybody all over the world gets to see. So nice job. That's it.
Okay. I need a motion to,
I make a motion that we go in closed session.
second. All in favor? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
So, do we need another motion?
No. Chris will be in town.
Is it? Good. I was wondering if he was coming in.
Yeah, he's flying in. Let's fly in for that and fly back out. I won't be able to make it. I'm going to Tennessee, I'm going to Chattanooga. I've never been to Chattanooga.
I've been through there, but I didn't stay.
Yeah.
Nice.